Now, before we get into HBO Max's new pricing plans, according to Screen Rant, photos were a tease of the filming process for Thor: Love and Thunder, and the production boasts new StageCraft technology, similar to that technology that was used during the filming of The Mandalorian. Now, Darius, I know you really wanted to get into this, so why don't you elaborate for everybody what exactly this sort of technology entails, what exactly it is, what's so great about it, and what makes you so excited for it. So, let
Yeah,
you take the reins on this
one
one.
of the, of course, one of the great things about Stagecraft technology is that it was also built by or co-built by ILM, and ILM, if you don't know, is Industrial Light and Magic, pretty much a new staple of visual effects, especially when it was founded for Star Wars. And so, what this technology essentially is, think of it as like the Star Trek holodeck, but it's actually almost there. Again, it's not exactly that, but it's basically a large hub or silo of a bunch of LED or mini LED panels around the actors and potentially crew as well. Mainly the actors, and the great thing about the Stagecraft technology is that you can actually implement a 3D scene right then and there without having to do any compositing just yet, compared to using the regular green screen technology that a lot of people know and have used in indies and even feature films as well. So with this Stagecraft is that whatever you see in the camera is actually in the camera, including that 3D set. It's just the illusion that it looks like it. And when you move the camera, there's also a parallax movement to go with it, so it seems seamless and it flows really well from scene to scene and everything among those lines. And I've always been following this ever since it was announced with Mandalorian. It was used on Mandalorian at first. Westworld started to use it. Even the Midnight Sky has used it as well. And so seeing that another Disney property like Thor 4, which I'm already excited for, is
Same.
using Stagecraft, it's going to be really great.
So now, just to make sure, I have a good grasp on what it is that you're talking about for sure. So basically, again, instead of seeing a green screen, when we look at a lot of times we look at behind the scenes videos of certain films and TVs being made and filmed. You get a look at what they're seeing through the camera, but they're seeing the actors in front of a green screen. Whereas with this technology, you're seeing a pretty close example of what you would see in the after post production, right? It's a more accurate representation of what you actually want the movie to look like, what you actually want the TV show to look like, as opposed to just seeing a green screen in your camera.
Pretty much, essentially, if you think of how projectors work as well, and imagine you're filming someone in between the projector and there, and in the subject, is very similar to a projection mapping as well. Especially back in old school days of how films were made and how they tried to do the special effects and visual effects. That projector, and that's essentially what Stagecraft does, except it's just a bunch of mini LED panels around, and you have a more accurate representation of whatever they're trying to go for. And so it almost eliminates the need of green screen. I think you still need green screen for certain things, but it definitely helps with visualizing the set day
Mm-hmm.
of, and if you need to move things around, such as using Unreal Engine, which is a game engine that now they're using in film and television, that they can move, let's say, a mountain over here or a building over there, that sort of thing, right then and there. Of course, it's more complex and probably more time, but this technology is also including more jobs as well within this industry and new positions, which is also another great thing. And again, Thor 4, a Marvel movie, utilizing this as well is amazing. Obviously, it shows Disney is even more invested in this, other than announcing we're building 4 more, buildings and everything.
And it's interesting too because, and for a couple reasons, with in relation to Thor 4, and I guess the Thor franchise as a whole, if you really think about it, because even with the two Thor films that Taika Waititi has worked on alone, right? Thor Ragnarok and now Thor Love and Thunder. Thor Ragnarok, I'm assuming, used the green screen technology, and that had an impact on how that movie looked visually. So
Yeah.
now, I think it's safe to say that we're gonna see things look differently on the visual end with Thor Love and Thunder. And which is really interesting too, because usually when I think of Taika Waititi, for whatever reason, I don't think of him as a big visual effects director, like I would with Steven Spielberg or James Cameron. But I guess that really changes now, because not only has he done Thor Ragnarok, he's done a few episodes of The Mandalorian, and now he's doing Thor Love and Thunder, and it's just interesting to see him kind of fit into that mold of a visual effects oriented director, which again is very interesting. Like I never would have thought to see this guy who seems to have a more quirky way of storytelling so much associated with pioneering visual effects technology. It's really interesting to watch, and it's just more proof as far as like how he's really come into his own as a really prominent filmmaker and just like a very talented artist all around.
Absolutely. I think Taika, because I think it's not. I do agree that he is a director that doesn't maybe focus heavily on visual effects, but I think the fact of how the workflow of using stagecraft is just making a lot of these productions a bit easier for people is what people are going for. And so if Marvel can use something like stagecraft for their films and even series, imagine the amount they can pump out every year compared to the usual film it on a green screen, you gotta composite this stuff, that sort of thing. Where now it's like, hey, little mini pre-built set, put it in the stagecraft. Now you have a 3D set and everything like that. And again, it's not going to be like, oh, this is the final image. Obviously, there's more to it in post production, but just that workflow of bringing your pre-production actually there on set as well is, and even in post just throughout, is really awesome and really great. Again, I've been following the stagecraft stuff ever since they announced it. I actually love it, so I can't wait to see where this technology goes in the future, because there's definitely a lot of improvements they can go for towards 10, 5 years, 12 years from now. So
yeah, and you just imagine exactly like this is where we are now. Like this is one of those moments where like you ever like find out about a new piece of technology, no matter what it is, and you're like, and you could only imagine being in the future, but you're like, wait a minute, this is happening now. The future is now. Like that's how I feel when it comes to learning about this sort of technology, and it seems like this will lead to the decline of the need for green screen technology and compositing and all that sort of thing. Because for those of you guys who don't know, like Darius and I first met when we took like a digital imaging class, like back in high school. And one of the things, first of all, there were a lot of programs that we had to learn in that class that drew me up a wall, that made me yell at my computer. But I remember compositing was definitely one of them. So, if someone tells me they're like, oh, we're not going to be compositing as much, cool, awesome. But at the same time, again, there's a double-edged sword too. Because if I couldn't get something like compositing, what makes me think that I could possibly understand how to do this new stuff even more? So
it's like every 5 minutes, dang it, I can't do this, or darn it, I don't remember.
I'll never forget, I was working on a project, forgot what project it was exactly, but like our computer, our program, for whatever reason, it just wasn't working for me. And I was just like, letting my feelings be known to the computer because it's obviously listening. And my partner is going, stop cursing. And I'm like, no, I can't. It's just not going for me. Oh, man. But
it's funny because he doesn't like compositing, but I kind of do. So
yeah. If that wasn't obvious enough, computers and I don't always get along. I've got a very bipolar relationship when it comes to technology. But like, oh no, this is, despite my mixed relationship with technology and I guess just artistic technology overall, this new development is absolutely insane. Just like the fact that like you're gonna be able to skip what feels like so many steps and just make that filming process that much easier. I mean, like Darius, I'm sure you agree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm excited for the future of this. ILM yet again makes another staple in cinematic history and visual effects, so I'm all for it.
So now, just out of curiosity, what do you guys think of this new piece of machinery? What do you guys think of this new technology here? And how do you think it'll benefit Thor 4? And how do you think it benefited The Mandalorian? Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section there below.